Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dare Around Yak Spin. We fantastic show for you. Welcome back to Guild Wars 2 Week 2. What's planned next for Guild Wars 2 and Living World Season 4 finale, teased, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow hosts. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion and hosts the Zero to Hero on this very channel. Also Vote to Kick and is playing around with Florida Man, which hopefully we'll get to see more of that soon. But now that the teaser dropped, I bet he is wondering what path of destruction is in store for us and how long will ArenaNet keep us waiting. Say hello to Jim. You're muted.
I know. I need to unmute myself. I want Shadow of the Colossus dragon fight on Krakatorik's back while he flies around. Please and thank you.
Oh yeah, we'll be talking all about it with that little 20-second teaser, and people are gushing over it. And also, he streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. ArenaNet surprised us at one convention, but how did his trip to another convention go? Say hello to Age.
That's what I'm staring at you. It went good.
I could tell.
Glad to be back.
You got something right.
I can't see in this thing.
I think you'd be hard pressed to breathe either.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Now you can see?
Now I can see. Hi.
So you're gonna be like that the whole show?
I feel like a calamity has fallen you while you were gone.
Let's see how long this lasts.
All right. And she's an editor at Guildmag, writes for MMORPG.com and also her own site, MMORLay.com. Also is a moderator over at MMO Champion. Hopefully she will provide Foley work for the teaser ArenaNet dropped. And say hello to Robin.
Yeah, there was surprisingly a little roaring in that video. I don't understand.
That should have been your reply. Be like, I need to see at least 70% more roaring.
Right. Like, dragon flying around and no roars. Like,
wait,
did we kill his vocal cords? Can he no longer roar? I don't understand.
Are you saying you have a fever and the only prescription is
roaring?
Oh,
Maybe.
damn it.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. Let us jump right into it. So as we're kind of teasing you here, this, I think it happened at Res during the character death panel that they were doing. They showed off a little teaser, and then later, I think it was on Friday or later in the day, they actually put it on social media on their Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, they gave us a little teaser of season 4, and it was War Eternal. You can see it.
Season 4, episode 6.
Yes. They did refer to it only as episode 6, but I don't think they referred to any of the other ones as a finale, to be fair.
No, they didn't. I don't
think so. Six is a good number of episodes, and I think that's kind of been like 6 to 8.
It's been like the go-to.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people, and like I said, this has been like 20 seconds or 26 seconds or so, I think chat was saying, and people are breaking it down. I mean,
right. Well, the thing to me, like, I keep looking at the last shot before it goes to the logo because, like, I think it's an optical illusion, but I swear it looks in that last shot like somebody's riding on his back. I was like,
a lot of people have said it definitely looks like there's someone riding on the back of that.
Yeah.
Whatever it could be.
that looks like that last shot. That's Griffin animations.
Is it Griffin, not the dragon?
That's Griffin flight animation.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it is. It doesn't look like it's Krakatorrik. But so the interesting thing is, it might be a Griffin skin because if you do stop it, it doesn't have Griffin wing. Like it has like scaled type wings. It
has like the webbed wings and stuff, and the
so
head is not all different.
It's definitely not a default Griffin skin. If it is,
I'm thinking like, and having not finished the last episode yet.
Oh my god!
I know, right?
Which I will say, this is spoiler free, or not spoiler free. This has spoilers, because I mean, it's been. I'm just saying for everyone else. It's just it's been so long that if you haven't by now,
I'll live. But with the dragon blood spear, like I don't know if that made it to the end of the episode, but flying on a griffin alongside Kralkatork while you're trying to like
spear him as he's flying,
like take him out of the sky so you can like get him in position for some kind of packed weapon to take him out.
And like Chad is saying, it also has horns on it, so it definitely is weird if that is you're supposed to be your griffin.
Right.
And it's just
something that's magically assured into being immune to branding, so you can fly close enough.
Chad's calling you out.
No, that's 100% fine. Hypno, call me out for it. It's just
you get on that. It's a really good episode.
But I have heard some good points, and I think we brought it up before too, especially when people were saying, utilizing more of the features in POF and all that stuff, was if there is an instance or maybe the map requires a griffin or the flying abilities.
They can't do that.
Well, they can't unless they somehow give that ability on that map to all the people, which what if you go to this map and it's like here we and it's like here we tamed these things. As long as you're here, you can use these things, so that way it does give the access to those people.
Right.
All right. I need if you guys want to see a Shadow Colossus fight for this, just type a 1 in chat. I want this so bad. So bad.
Where's my
I did watch a little bit of Wooden Potatoes video, and we had a lot of same points, and I want to go a little bit further where I guess he stopped, but like Chad is saying, Wooden Potatoes speculated the smoky stuff coming from Kralkatork. You see right here, like on his wings, like couple like little smoke trails coming off his wings. He was actually speculating maybe these are weak points, kind of like you would see like in a Shadow of Colossus fight style thing where maybe you're running along.
Actually, if you look with the one where he's flying and his back is to us, it looks like a head. There's smoke spots, almost like when you see old World War II things with planes flying.
Well, no, those
stuff.
are matching his wings. Like I think those.
No, there's some on the wings, but there's some that pop up front too.
I think that might be rubble, like little rocks as well.
Maybe.
I think. I don't know. I've looked at it a couple of times, but I definitely not an expert.
Well, that's where we stabbed him in the eye multiple times.
That's also looking like it's in the mists. So,
and that's another thing a lot of people are picking up on is that this could very well be the mists. I mean, or we're very high up because all we see are clouds on both sides. But
well, if you look in the right hand, the top right on the last frame for the Griffin shot, like that very much looks a lot like stuff in Heart of the Mists. I'm not saying we're breaking into PvP to kill Kralkatork, but
and that's the interesting thing. Mists aren't just like lore wise. The mists, and I mean this is where Kralkatork has been flying in and out of because of his other powers he's gained. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. A lot of people are thinking this might take place in the mist, at least the instances, maybe not the map. I don't know how they're gonna do a mist map without. It's like people have to go into.
I'm also curious because they're calling it War Eternal. Like, does that mean we figure out some way to kind of contain him into the mist, and like we're perpetually having to contain him or something?
We have to fight a branded Balthazar.
Over and over and over forever.
Oh no, Deo has a thing.
It's Abden. Abden.
As much as I'd love that, maybe down the road we can, you just don't throw Abaddon at everything. I mean, who would do that?
I mean, when you make that face,
he will be down the road. Don't worry, he's always there. But chat kind of did talk about it. I think Wooden Potatoes does talk about it a little bit because since this might be the mist, and I was very interested with the idea of War Eternal, and so was I think Wooden Potatoes. He actually said he couldn't see a connection, but, and sorry to do this, Jim, but at the end of the last episode, when Kralkatork shoots a power at you, the three things that appear around him are Zaitan, Morjamoth, and Balthazar, like kind of spirits representing the powers that he has consumed.
Mm-hmm.
So he has Balthazar's power. My question is, Eternals in Fissure of Woe back in Guild Wars 1 were competing against the Shadow Army and Mingus. But would these things blindly follow him now, since he has his power essence, whatever you want to call it? And now that he's going in and out of the mists, the Fissure of Woe is another area of the mists. We have explored the mists more so because of the other raid, the Underworld, which I'm wondering, we're due for a raid. What if they release a Fissure of Woe raid that's like, maybe we're fighting above it and then the Fissure of Woe may be the raid type thing?
That's possible, but Mike said the next raid is going to be continuation of what's his face from
Kadim, yeah.
Yeah. Which, something's happened with him. We don't know what exactly has happened with him, and there have been these things that are appearing that come out which could be related, so it could have something to do with that.
Bjorn brings up a point, is that Balthazar was stripped of his magic.
Well, he had some magic, but not...
Yeah, he was gaining magic back from everything.
Yeah, he just wasn't as powerful as,
I suppose it's one of those things where it's like, would he be recognized as the leader of the Eternals at that point?
Well, but
yeah,
that's my thinking is, I think at this point, maybe someone else is going to try to go after, or we might kill Krakatork in this, or somehow diminish him of his power. Where's that magic going to go? Maybe Mingus finally wins this war, and he takes over the God of War's Goddom.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he becomes an issue in episode 5 or something, or maybe he's our friend. Who knows? Because he was allied with the one friendly god we knew in Guild Wars 1, Abaddon.
I mean, you knew Cormyr too. You just didn't realize Cormyr was going to be a god.
Boo, Cormyr. And chat saying, yeah, Fissure Woe open area, that could also be interesting. And
well, there's also a current event that's going to happen before this episode comes in, which ties in
Words.
Difficult.
They could aim to pull a similar thing that they did to Abaddon with the Realm of Torment, but instead imprison Krakatork and Fissure of Woe. Yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting thing to release those powers. And like I said, I think it's because they really have been poking at the idea of, like, for the last year or so, like the whole Mingus thing, and it's like
they basically said, hey, yeah, he might exist in the story going forward, and then dropped it.
Right.
Which makes us all wonder, of course, but I'm okay with that. Bringing back all of the, tying up loose ends from Guild Wars 1, I don't think is a terrible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, callbacks are always nice. So.
Well, I mean, that's arguably one of the places, and this is in a comparison sake, like World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King, one of the biggest loose ends was tied up in Wrath of the Lich King.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the game just kind of started to...
One of the things with if we imprison him in the mist is we would have to either figure out some way to prevent him from intaking magic so he didn't continue the destabilization of everything, or we'd have to figure out some way to equal out at the rate that he can ingest stuff, more magic was put back in to replace it.
When we put him to
cut off his tail.
Wow.
then
Okay,
back out.
I see.
Monster Hunter.
I see you're going like old BioWare with Jade Dragon or Jade Empire.
I actually never played that one.
You need to. It's really good.
I always wanted to, yeah.
Good.
Wish they'd remaster it.
Yeah.
And like Chad's saying, a lot of the gem store stuff was also focusing on the gods and the six, and I mean it. You know, they've been talking about like getting back to their roots of like the game and stuff like that. If we're getting really back to the roots, originally Guild Wars 2 was supposed to be us fighting gods and demons. Like early on, like.
And Guild Wars.
So.
And guilds fighting each other, right? That was the thing. That's why it's called
that was
guild.
history. That was history.
Well, they're working on the guilds warring with the Alliance update.
What about Dervish? If they want to go back to old roots,
Please and thank you. I do also want to bring up. I don't say that. I'm not directly saying when I brought up the Wrath of the Lich King comparison. I don't think Guild Wars 2 is going to go downhill when it wraps up smaller stuff. I feel like there's a lot more unsolved stuff from Guild Wars 1 than World of Warcraft ever had.
Right.
Like, I feel like there's a lot deeper backstory that.
Well, like there's even like
so.
deep backstory stuff that they could wrap up within Guild Wars 2 that they haven't wrapped up. You could always go back to. Like there's a lot of stuff for them to revisit.
Could someone clarify something for me?
Maybe.
So when a dragon's asleep, and someone in chat can answer too. Like, when a dragon's asleep, do they intake magic?
No. The cycle is that when they're awake, they're sucking in magic. And then as they're sleeping, it leaches back out into the world and the world becomes more magical again. And then when it reaches a point of a certain amount of magic out in the world, that's when they wake up again.
Okay. So what if we put Krakator to sleep in the mist? What happens?
Maybe he'll leech magic back out in the mist and it'll stabilize.
That's kind of the ideal solution at this point, because from what I remember last episode, Krakator was like seeping in and out of the mist. So if we catch him while he's in the mist, like.
All right. So everybody get your harps. We're going to sing him a lullaby and put him to sleep.
That's
is that why you had to get those gem store flute weapon or gathering tools?
Yes.
Well, we're kind of screwed because all of the people who would, make him unconscious, they just nerfed all the mesmers. So,
dang it.
And I know Chad's saying, we're not going to do the god stories, but these might be new. Like the old gods have left, but what has been left in its place are these demigods that they just kind of left behind. I mean, Doom was left behind. But apparently Mingus was, or who knows?
I killed Doom. Pretty sure I killed his.
Yeah, but he was left behind.
Pretty sure.
And then we killed him, supposedly.
Yeah. The ultimate the whole.
Don't you find out in the raid that you just locked him away again for so many years or something?
Or did you
officially
kill him? And then I was just happy. So.
No, I mean Mingus.
Hard fight.
That is the proper pronunciation of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's pronounced Mingus, unfortunately.
Let's not go back into that.
Every time I hear Mingus, my brain immediately follows it with Dingus.
You're just delaying. Like,
I mean that was very much the story of Guild Wars 1. It was this, and that's usually how people are.
Yeah, but
we take all of our problems and we push them over there.
Yeah,
yep.
It just. I don't know if there's like a permanent solution, to be honest.
Right. Well, that's the part of the problem, is that the elder dragons are part of the natural life cycle of the planet. So, like, if we got rid of them, we'd need to have something to take up their role. Otherwise,
there is very much like the Forgotten had their plan is replace the dragons with things that don't want to kill us.
Right. But we don't know what that would be.
Chat, when I mean the gods, I mean all the stuff that isn't the dragons, because you're saying gods are too human centric. The human gods are, hence why you have to say human gods.
Right.
Then there was the Norn spirits, the Asuran alchemy. Like, remember, Ogden said, like, all this stuff, each each group has a piece of the puzzle. Like, I think us venturing into the mist, this is us helping figure out the stuff. Granted, we're not going to figure it out this episode. I'm not saying that, but
we figure out everything this episode. All questions are answered.
I kind of want to go into Norse lore, Norn lore. That'd be
that would be cool. So just random question to make sure I'm remembering correctly. The Norn have their spirits. One of the spirits died. Did that happen?
Yeah, it was eaten by. No, it happened in between 1 and 2 because I think it supposedly went to fight Zaitan, but got consumed by it, I believe.
Okay.
Or was it consumed by
I remember it
Dormad.
Sacrificed itself to save some people, but I couldn't
killed it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry. I couldn't remember if it was something that happened in Guild Wars 1 or if it was one of the things that happened between.
And I thought Doliak died or was consumed. Because that's what Korgel was. He talks about how his father was the last shaman of Doliak.
But I think Doliak's still around.
I think Al was the only one that they said was consumed, but I think the other ones got something happened with them, because they were the lesser spirits. But yeah, I mean, if we look at it from a Norn perspective, and they looked at the human gods as these spirits of action, I think they called it.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't even think of them as gods; they thought of them as very powerful. So it's just. While I say the gods, while that perspective is human centric, I think it reveals that there's more to it in the world. But yeah, I mean, we got these other lesser deity type things are very powerful. Oh, go ahead.
Malthanis, so according to the wiki, Doliak was one of the 4 spirits that stayed behind to help them, and nobody knows what happened to him.
It is unknown what happened to him, yes.
Okay, because I remember I knew the lesser ones kind of stayed behind, but I knew Al was the only one that was mentioned that was actually consumed.
Yeah, I think that's the only one we know for sure was eaten.
Ox, Owl, Wolverine, and Eagle stayed back to fight off the Elder Dragon. At least Owl died, and the other 3 have been lost.
Interesting.
There you go. Next expansion, we're finding the minor spirits.
Yes, that would be amazing. I would be so excited.
Well, I suppose that's another one of the things that they could do is they talk about, replacing the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
What if we don't necessarily need to have 6 super powerful entities? What if we have whole pantheons where everything is spread out too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could definitely be interesting, but
all of the Wolverines were lost. That's what happened. They vanished.
We got half an hour out of a 20-second teaser.
Yep. Are you really shocked? There's
Not
story
really.
behind this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting they talk about War Eternal with it's because a lot of people were just looking at the whole dragon thing, but the Eternals and War, those are very deliberate things. Like the Eternals were
also,
Balthazar's people.
I feel like it's important that they said War Eternal as opposed to Eternal War. I feel like the implications there are a bit different. I don't know what those implications are, but to me, it just sounds very different and seems like a different thing.
And also, and I was gonna talk about it, was what I kind of want to see the whole Mingus thing and the gods thing switching, and maybe him claiming he's gonna be the new god of war and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to see. We haven't gotten what's her face from the most episodes that was the follower Balthazar.
Zafira.
Yeah, we haven't seen her story. I'd like to hear that inner turmoil, because it's she was willing to go to death for the person that killed Balthazar. Will she have that same thing? Is she following Balthazar, or is she following the god of war?
Well, my thing is I feel like the way they introduced her and everything that happened to her, I feel like her her thing wasn't just giving us the sword. I felt like she had a really important part to play in all of this, and thus far we haven't really seen what that is. So I think she's going to be really important.
And I wish I could stop it. I remember I deliberately asked them, how do they pronounce it? Because, you know, Abaddon isn't actually pronounced Abaddon in real life. Just saying.
Nope.
But I always fight for that. Huh?
I understand Bjorn's pain.
I trust me, I do too. And that's why one reason when they first announced, like, think they put it like one of the weapons in the gem store, and I was like, how is this pronounced?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Voldemort. I just don't say his name. That's all.
Well, that one, JK is just wrong. I don't know what she's crazy about.
I opened a new door.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Did they explain it in like her thinking of like why they named her, what named him in particular later on? Like in the future? Like future plans?
Anyway.
Speaking of future plans, this past week we got a blog post, and boy howdy was it a blog post.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is one thing that a lot of people were hoping for, was after, you know, the whole thing with the unfortunate, you know, layoffs at ArenaNet and stuff like that. Mike Z actually put out a blog post of kind of what they want to do. I would say like a very loose roadmap, like what they want to do in the coming years, pretty much, it sounds like.
I mean, there's a lot that's near term that he talked about on there, and then he looks further ahead and then further ahead beyond that. I think everything probably except for the last couple of points was probably loosely planned for this year.
Yeah. I like the philosophy, like player autonomy and horizontal progress.
Mm-hmm.
I have never actively disliked a system added to the game. Masteries are a fantastic way to expand the level cap without making a gear treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they continue building on that, I don't even necessarily know if I care if like another expansion or another set of masteries involves another movement mechanic, because I don't know where to go from gliding or mounts.
Yeah, don't put it in just to put it in.
Yeah.
To meet a checklist.
Like, and honestly, we've known this for a while. They basically said, yeah, we're just going straight from season 4 to season 5. And I'm like, good. The game isn't ready for another set of elite specs.
Right. That's why I wrote my article. It's kind of what I was saying, that from what he was saying, it sounded to me like he was saying there's no near-term plan for another expansion. So to me, that means that maybe we won't even get one after season 5, which I think is probably still fine, because like the main things with those are the elite specs and the new, so far it's been movement ability, and I don't really see like
what else can we do?
I don't want them to stuff something in there because they feel like they have to. I don't feel like we're going to be ready for more elite specs. I don't want them to just give everybody a random new weapon that they don't have just to add something because they have to have something, and it doesn't really help or improve the class as is. I want them to do these things when and how it makes sense, rather than feeling like they have to. And that's one of the reasons why I was saying that I'm fine if they don't do more expansions in any kind of near future, because I don't feel like the game needs those things at this point. I'd rather them focus on what we have and getting it in a really good place, namely balance, get that solid before they start messing with things and adding more variables in again.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Age.
So we need to get the shiny Skritt trophy and just give that to Arlie. That can be our Oscars.
But Bjorn, yes, that is their job. But the problem is that it's the balance between player expectation and what makes sense and is good for the game. And sometimes, like it's kind of like the same thing with like every episode they add a new map. I think they need to cut that shit out and like start working on expanding some of the maps and stuff, because like we're just further diluting the population, because that would be better for the game.
Well,
Players expect it now.
Well,
Like,
and yeah, or you can. Sorry, I thought you were.
no, I was just saying, like, yes, they need to make sure things are make sense, but like, it's also a problem if you've set a precedent and players expect this to be part of the thing. You feel like you still have to give it, even if you don't have any solid idea of how to make it work well. Like, people are not bottomless pits of ideas, and like, you can only dick with something so much before you make it collapse. Like,
the problem with adding more elite specs right now is the current set of elite, like, they don't have balance parity. Like, and we are not at a point where more elite specs can be added to the equation because we don't have a solid ecosystem.
right.
At the end of Heart of Thorns, I felt comfortable playing basically anything. I had my quibbles about some of the elite specs, but like, there was a place for core and for the Heart of Thorns elite specs in basically all game modes. However, we're not at that point with Path of Fire specs. So until we can get there, well, in PvE, there are 3 game modes.
Right.
So
the other thing, well, go ahead.
Well, we have to get to the point where we can't just like, you can't say, oh, the ship rocking right now is fine, we can add more rocking to the ship.
Right.
Because that's we've been so used to the ship rocking this much, it's fine, we can handle it. And then the other thing is, and Aaron has a point in that. PvE,
yeah, I was just gonna say, like Chat said, PvE is the one place where balance really doesn't matter.
Are you talking
aside from raids?
Yeah, are you talking?
Well, that's in the sense of what are you gonna take, but in the end, you're fighting an inanimate object. Like, you're not.
Yeah, but I mean, raid balance is important. One of the other things I was going to throw out, like, even if you look at the elite specs we got with HOT and the elite specs we got in POF, all of the elite specs in HOT were aimed at filling in gaps that the base professions didn't have, and extending those professions and making them better, and filling in like the needs of where the profession needed to go. A lot of the HOT specs felt like they were like, oh, let's just do this, that'll be cool. You know, it didn't really fill a hole for the profession. Like, for example, you know, Weaver is really cool, I like it, I use it all the time, it's the main one I use, but it didn't really fill like a hole that was missing for the Elementalist.
Elementalist didn't have tanky or melee.
Right.
I would say Weaver is probably the weakest example of that in the entirety of Path of Fire, in that Weaver definitely filled an actual melee spec for Elementalist. And
but you could have melee specs, I used them. Like,
there was no like legit, like, there was nothing with melee range on Elementalist before Weaver.
The dagger, yeah, double dagger,
short range along.
Yeah, but it's melee.
Double dagger kind of died with Path of Fire, with HOT.
Like, that's the thing though, is it's still technically not melee. Like, you still had a decent amount of leeway, and if you really had to go to it, you could go water and still be back with like the midline.
You know what was a melee Elementalist? My summoning build that they took from me.
Not really.
Well,
that was, I pulled out my lightning hammer and started bashing him in the face.
Arlie brought up the maps with every living story. Like, Mike actually brought that up in the blog post, is in order to not split the player base, maybe we can expand on a map as opposed to a new one. And I'm like, yes, please, thank you.
Give people more reason to go back to the older maps and do things.
Yeah, but can we talk about build templates?
Well, I was gonna say, like, we haven't like really.
We'll get there.
Well, I was gonna say we haven't even like gone into like what their philosophy was kind of going into it. Like,
okay, I'll wait.
I mean, yeah, we'll definitely hit all the stuff.
I'll be here.
But yeah, going forward, they kind of want the philosophy of encouraging players to interact positively, which I think was always there, but support players' autonomy, focus on horizontal progression instead of vertical, build upon previous designs and strive for the fun. So
Yay.
If you want to encourage players to interact positively, can you not queue me with other thieves in PvP? Like,
Yeah, I want that to be a setting so I could be queued not with thieves. That would be cool.
or H. I was gonna say he's gonna be like, I'm gonna go back in my
I
match
know when
now.
I'm not wanted.
You're fine, Age. All the other thieves are, I don't know.
No, Age, come back. We need you. I need you. I need you to do the audio of the podcast. I don't think he's come back. Way to go, Harley.
He'll be back. Don't worry about it. Actually, he might be sitting in his chair right now, just stealthed.
Right.
Heck, he might have. The way we talk the last couple of weeks, I guess he might be going to get a drink.
Okay, I came back.
Did you get a drink?
I did.
I look at part of the next part. I don't know if we've hopped on from the
well, yeah, there was nothing much to really go over about the philosophy, but I just like wanted that groundwork that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they did talk about there. Oh, go ahead.
I think another philosophy that they should have is kind of what Brent's talking about, like guilds.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sad that
Mhm.
guilds weren't mentioned as a team that they're making. Like, why no guild team?
Because not necessarily a guild team, just like incorporating guilds again, because I've said this for a while, but like guild missions is
Mhm.
one of the kind of the core PV, not even PvE, like even PvP and World Foundations, in terms of like just getting together and, you know, doing a thing as a group together.
Yeah.
So I think revitalizing guild missions would help in that endeavor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which
Just like more guild things in general, like making the whole thing more solid. One thing that Bjorn mentioned was the guild tools are really bare bones, and that's true. Like there's
Mhm.
only so much. It's like I'm in a guild. Boo.
yeah, like I said, it just a lot of times is used as a glorified friends list. It's like
Yep.
you have the
Yeah.
Torquato Terror Squad that was formed by people who want to kill this particular thing, or you know,
Right.
they kind of morphed it into world bosses. But yeah, that could have just been a friends list with a note next to it. Like these people like to do world bosses. It's like,
Yeah.
If you notice, my friends list is a glorified friends list. So-
but you know, like you guys said, it's kind of lacking a guild team or some of the teams that maybe we would like to see. But some of the teams that they said they were restructuring into was, so they're going to have the skills and balance, rewards, World v World, and SPVP teams like that.
Mhm.
So they're going to be dedicated to supporting the core game aspects. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from like his phrasing that these are teams that are added to like some of their other teams, like the narrative team and other things.
yeah, I don't think they're going to be
it's
like, yeah,
not-
we no longer have a narrative team. It's just these 4 teams. Like,
Right.
where's the
They
PvE
didn't
team? Oh
get
no, we don't
rid
need
of
that
all
anymore.
The other ones. Yeah, and they still have the current events team, which he mentions later too. So like, I know some people kind of like that's all the teams they have. That's terrible. Like,
Yeah, it's but yeah, they do say how they'll have more flexibility to decide what makes sense for a given release. So it definitely seemed interesting.
As long as the Fractal and Raid team can release outside of the living story schedule,
right.
I'm okay with that.
And I think like this is my assumption, but I think that's the goal here, like to have those teams that they can work on something and make it ready and then do it, you know?
Like I think people would rather just see stuff being released, not necessarily these giant mega patches of stuff.
Right. Like smaller patches more often with things. The other thing is I think the gem store team is still separate from the rewards team because I'm assuming the rewards team are in-game rewards focused.
I would hope so. I would be worried if that was you know, rewards. Swipe your credit card, or like, no, that's not that's not rewards.
My thought crisis. Like, Gem Store isn't rewards, so hopefully that means we'll get more in-game type things, and maybe like sometimes when these maps come out, like the rewards in the map have been lackluster sometimes, so maybe that'll help balance things out on that aspect too.
I don't know. You guys don't want to buy repair kits on the Atom Shop? I mean, the Gem Store. Sorry, just learned that about Fallout 76 this morning, and I figured I'd throw that one in.
But they. Oh, good.
I read this and I feel a little sad because of the opportunity to reorganize ourselves, and I'm like, I know why they had the opportunity, and I feel bad about it. So, yeah.
But hopefully it comes out like a phoenix from the ashes. It rises and burninates the land.
Burninating the peasants.
Right, that's gonna be stuck in my head for the rest of the night.
Tractor.
And yeah, like Chad is saying, we have gotten, unique sets of armor, weapons and stuff.
Yeah. Like, I haven't gone for bloodstone weapons yet. I just haven't had time to. But it's like legendaries are my priority, and then like other stuff. I haven't gone for that armor set that was in episode 3.
Requiem? Is that it?
Right. And like, I wasn't saying they never give us stuff, but like there's big gaps when we get those things. We'll get those things, and then
it seems like we get it in a chunk, like Chad is saying. We get like a lot in like a couple episodes, and then it's kind of like, well, here's like maybe a helmet, like one helmet skin or something.
Well, no, in terms of content, maybe that's the case, but in terms of like rewards to get, I think there's enough to tide you over for at least a little bit, because at least the episode where we got the Sunspear Sanctuary, there was that armor piece, and there was people complaining about that sigil of nullification, which
that was the I believe Elegy and Requiem stuff.
Yeah, so that like allowed, there was like a good amount of time that you could spend working towards that until the next episode.
But like before that, like I think they started making the shift and like trying to provide more rewards at that point. But before that, we weren't getting that much in terms of like in-game rewards and stuff. So I feel like having a rewards teams might make it more consistent with things coming out, and like some of the balance issues with like obtaining those rewards people have seen might be addressed before we actually get it, so they don't have to go back and like make adjustments as much.
Yeah, I think if they bring back like current events, that would kind of help a little bit. Because I like doing those in between, because it's something to do, and you can.
It also makes the world feel more alive.
Yeah, get a nice little trinket or something. I'm pretty sure there's still like a few current events I haven't done.
Like Chad is saying, they keep bringing up maps and stuff, and I think that's also the problem that makes those things a little bit harder to get. It's like halftime. It's like if you don't do it in the first 2 weeks, it's weeks sometimes.
Real trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of balancing grind with content, and I don't mind grinding. As someone who has made like almost 20 legendaries, I don't mind grinding. Is a problem with other people who doesn't like that content. They much rather have something more interesting to do, like go do this event or do this chain in order to like get the item to complete like a 20.
I'm one of those people. I have no tolerance for grind. I'd rather do different things. And
my only problem with that is go do this event instead of go do this heart, is then people would start complaining about having to do that event.
Right.
Yeah. So or it's I don't know, do this jumping puzzle or things like that. Like kind of like how the collections for legendaries were done. It's just that it takes a little bit more time investment to do. I don't know how much it would take nowadays, but
And I don't, and you know, I could see a mix of the things, like kind of like you said, legendaries and legendary armor, where there were those things where it's like you have to get a drop off of a certain creature or something like that, or but then there were also the ones where it's like go do this event or go do this like you know particular thing, go on a journey type. So yeah, I would like to kind of see that, just not in the or exclusively kind of in the legendary category.
Right.
Netgo,
Make a mix of stuff.
it's not so much like if you could do everything in a single day, then the problem
You'd be
is the
more
major.
bored.
Well, yeah, the major complaint would be there's nothing to do. Well, it's because you slammed through all of the content in the first 2 weeks. So there's a reason that there are time gates for certain things.
But
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
will
goes
agree.
two ways. Then you get the people that say, well, all you got to do is log in for an hour a day, and then there's nothing to do.
Yeah, but
the
that's
whole-
kind of Guild Wars 2's thing. Like you
Like,
can
that's-
log in for a short period of time, make progress on the thing, and log out. Like
they
Well, couldn't you
redesigned
make
all
that
of Heart of
progress
Thorns.
as well by just logging in an hour a day when it's unlimited? You'd still
Yeah,
make the
but-
same progress, and then the other people would be happy.
no, they wouldn't.
Because then they complain
Well-
they have nothing to do.
Yeah, they'd be
Yes, but
like,
it-
I spent 20 hours in a shot and did all of it. There's nothing to do. Like,
True, those people will exist, but then you point out to them, yeah, you got the 20 hours worth of content. It's like,
They
did
don't
you want it
care.
over 20 days, or did you want it like?
Well, you talk
Yeah,
about
I know
playing
those-
for an hour a day, like when they redesigned Heart of Thorns, the big April patch. Like they basically redesigned Heart of Thorns so that you didn't have to sit in a jungle map for an entire meta cycle to feel rewarded. So they kind of wanted to design it so that you could hop in, feel that your time is worthwhile. Maybe you didn't
Right.
finish the meta, but you can still
Right.
feel rewarded for your time spent. So honestly, I'd rather take the, I only have to play for an hour a day over the I have to spend hours, or I could spend hours and then have nothing else to do and not log in for a month.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
'Cause
I was gonna say, oh, go ahead.
I was just like, I remember for Living Story Season 3, there was the legendary trinket. I remember Aaron going at it because he didn't complete all of the episode metas, and so he had to gate times, and he doesn't like gating. As most.
I think there should be a way that might be difficult to reset certain time gating things. So
I
if
can
you
agree.
want to push the envelope,
But do you want to give? I don't know if devs want to give that option, right?
no,
Right.
I know it's
It would depend on the thing that's being time gated.
Yeah.
It would, something like time gating would need to be on a case by case basis. I definitely don't like crafting time gating personally. Like that's a thing that I think can just be done away with, period. But for like stuff that's based on a thing you do in the game, that depends.
Right. I think it needs to be a mixture. Like some things, like everything doesn't meet time gating, and some things like should be.
Though I
I
will
think-
also say, for if they keep going with the time gating route, I think what they need to do is get away from that crutch of every new map has these separate dailies.
Right.
Like that feels like that's been kind of a crutch there. Like maybe make the rewards like, because usually it was like I'm doing it for the special resource that dropped out of there. Make it so you can get those in the map by just doing things, not hitting a checklist. Like just
Yeah, but at the same time, I think in Guild Wars 2, you can actually fight against the time gating by pre-planning. Because, like the example I gave with Aaron for Living Story Season 3, you had to do a bunch of the stuff to complete it. But now I know he's doing it in advance so that if there is a legendary trinket at the end of this season,
Right.
Already has
he's
done.
going to be ready. He's not going to be gated as much. The only thing
Well-
he'd be gated is ascended materials, which if he makes those items in advance, he'll be okay.
I mean, you didn't fight time gated. You just played the game when there was a lull.
Yeah, but you did it before you needed it, essentially.
True, but it's
you beat the time gate before the time gate happens.
well before the time gate was necessary.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But you're still gated, obviously, because there was that backpack in what was the map that had Primordius?
Draconis Mons.
Draconis Mons, yeah. There was that back piece that you had to evolve over time.
Yep,
So,
the
yeah,
druid one, I believe.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you had to get in order to get the legendary trinket. I did that, during the time where the episode came out, and then there was like that cadence where still waiting for the next event because I had nothing else to do. So I'm like, I'll work on this and get this back piece.
But what I'm still saying is it still took you, and I know this probably isn't right. It still took you the 20 days. You just did it while there was a lull. Like it is just time management versus like you see something in the achievement tab and you're like, oh, I could do that while I'm here. Where people are just going, I'm here for the event, like kind of more linear focus,
honestly,
and
I
then
think
they get screwed over later.
Stuff like that is more for being on the very edge of new content. Is if you have everything else done, you literally only have the new stuff to do, and then you're fighting the time gates there. I haven't been keeping up with the metas for a very long time, so I can finish the current stuff, go back a chapter, go back a chapter, go back a chapter. So if I have an extra long gameplay session, I can just kind of hop between stuff. So it's more one of those things where it's just like, what do you want to do, and kind of have a priority list, not necessarily a checklist. Be like, I'm working on this and this and this, and then this is the thing I want to get done first. So that's what you start with. And then when you get all of the like time gate stuff done with that, you move on to the next thing on your list and get all the time gate stuff done with that. It's one of those things where you kind of have to. Guild Wars 2 is an MMO that is a lot more like open world, like open-ended games, in the fact that you kind of have to set a goal for yourself to go do with it.
Right. It's more sandboxy.
Yeah.
Well, and I understand Age's point, but I'm still saying you're still putting in the same amount of time, and I know it's during the lull period. It's still a task of grinding something. It's just the.
Oh, you're talking about like actual hard grind versus like having fun getting to the point.
Yeah, it's just like going to this vendor and blah blah blah.
Okay,
and that's why I said the daily. Like, I hope they don't hang on that crutch of the dailies per map, because it's like.
Right.
Well, I kind of understand why they do that too, because they want to tie everything to the map. So like the only thing you could do is events and hearts, and what else is there? Like the jumping puzzle that they might add in the map, maybe certain things that happen in that map only, like the twister in the fourth episode. The Brandon twister like gets sucked up in that. Like
that was cool.
Like it's very limited in what you can do in that case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless they make that grind a lot shorter and say like, hey, if you at least do it once, you'll unlock everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then then becomes a problem of like there's nothing to do after you do that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that hard balance of trying to find how many things a person can do in the map, and how much do you want that person to repeat that content in order to get to the end goal.
Somebody's got cops.
Chat's saying if you do it over time, it won't feel like a grind.
I do kind of agree with Baron's part. Is more a feeling. Like there are some say something feels like a grind, and other people's don't.
But if you go by that logic, I hope you did every PvP achievement. I hope you did, because you're just doing it just in case.
It's more like
you don't definitively know if they're going to include a certain achievement towards the meta, towards this. No, you're just assuming why you have downtime. If you're just going to assume that, might as well just do all the PvP stuff, all the War v World stuff. Hopefully you have the, Dolyak Slayer thing, because who knows, it might require the legendary. Because
I think grinding is less of a feeling. It's more just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Like, because some people don't mind that at all. That's actually what they enjoy in games, is going and doing the same thing over and over.
It is a booming industry.
It's still a grind, but it's not like bothering you. Whereas other people, like, they do the same thing twice and they're like, all right, I'm done with this. Let's do something else. It's still a grind, whether you dislike it or like it.
Yeah. In terms of the examples I'm giving, it's more like For Living Story Season 3, I just did that content because I wanted like the shiny at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did that content, and when they released the legendary trinket, I'm like, oh, I did a lot of this stuff already. That's awesome.
Right.
So that for Living Story Season 4, I haven't been keeping up with minutes, but like I know I need to do those things in order to eventually get that. It's kind of like pre-planning once you know an existing structure. So like for legendaries, I know they'll require like Dogemoor Steel and Spiritwood Planks. So I would pre-make a bunch of those gated items in order to make sure I have enough, so that if there's a legendary I want that comes out in the future, I'll have enough ready to go, type of deal. It's like how I pre-plan when they announce new legendary, I pre-plan a bunch of stuff that I know that's going to be there, so like it reduces the amount of time to get the item when it comes out.
Because they're changing a lot of things, like in this blog post. They might change how they do that. You're hoping that history repeats itself.
If they change it, then I'm screwed. Yeah, then I have to do that.
Then you have to angry rant on the forums.
Oh yeah, obviously.
But he was talking about legendaries, so
yeah. So like at this point in time, I don't think if it's a risk, but since it's been done so many times and I've done it so many times,
right?
It's really weird if they swap it and all of a sudden I'll be really sad. But it's, I guess, in terms of repeatable grind like that, it's more like you already know what's going to happen, so you can already plan for that in advance. You plan your time in advance. For stuff that's new, like the Bloodstone weapons, that if it came out on release and then you have to work towards it, or the Requiem armor that you need Sigils and Nullification, no one knew that right away. So if you found out the recipe, you're one of the first to find out the recipe and bought up all the Sigil of Nullifications before they go up, and you're in the clear. Versus the people who don't and have to either make them or grind for money to actually get them. It's a weird system, I guess, in that respect. But I personally, I don't mind grinding for things. I like working hard for stuff I get.
How did we even get the grinding from here?
I think we were talking about the maps, reward structure, maps, all that stuff, and yeah, we haven't even gotten to like what they were even talking about.
Like I know Aaron wants us to talk about legendary runes and sigils, so
and we'll never get to it at this rate. So yeah, they did say that for like kind of the next few months they have lined up, like Robin was saying earlier, after Super Adventure Box Festival, the current activities team has a release that will build toward the season 4 finale, which is what she was talking about when we were talking about the other teams working. So, what? How are you worried about that? What?
Could be anything.
Yay, more stuff.
Just saying.
Maybe it's a current activities team meta that you have to do for the imaginary legendary at the end. Is that what you wanted to hear? Is that what you wanted from me?
I really hope that with the current event thing, it's not just like a whole bunch of stuff that they just plop down on the game at once, that it's like little events that they drip out for people to discover again, because it felt more engaging to me rather than having everything at once and then being like, oh, I did it and done.
Actually, here's a question for you guys. In between Living World episodes, they used to do like one current event before the next episode. Would you rather see it kind of spread out, like on a like maybe like 2-week basis before the patch comes out with the next story?
I mean, if they're going to do one, I don't think they have to do one for everyone.
But keep in mind that would mean that week it would be a lot shorter than them just bundling it and putting it out.
Well, I was gonna say it depends on how much content would be in it, because I mean we had the stuff that would like lead up to, for example, the the Underworld raid, where it was like there's a body by the Godlost Swamp, and that was like for the first like week it was just the body, there was nothing added to it. Then they added something, it was like now there's a wisp net. Like if it's that, Maybe shorten it, like maybe only like a couple of days where it's just a corpse or something. Like
I've kind of enjoyed when they drop a patch note. It's like there's been a disturbance in this area,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to go, and it involves stuff. So, also
Yeah.
Bjorn,
Oh.
to answer Bjorn's question, I'm expecting a lot of the legendary like accessories to be added. Is again more stuff via seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you talking about the line that says the Rune and Sigil salvaging release last year was in anticipation of releasing legendary runes and sigils, the final components of legendary core equipment?
Right. Yeah, I think that's what he means. I think that's just the last piece because they have the other things.
I think that just means like you have legendary weapons, you have legendary armor, you have legendary trinkets, and now you have legendary runes and sigils. Those are the last things. There's not going to add like legendary aqua breather or anything like that.
Right.
what? They're not?
Sorry.
They would need to
I'm
add
deleting
Gen
the
2
game.
legendary underwater weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that's what the phrasing meant to me. But
Mm-hmm.
They're also talking about working on episode 6 finale, of course. I mean, polished to the final encounter in the next raid. So it sounds like it's getting close. And like you guys said, it continues the story of Kadim. And it will get its own release after episode 6. So I must have blanked over that. So apparently that won't be the raid with my theory. But it could still be, like Chat said, open world Fissure of Woe. So.
I mean, it's possible it would link in somehow because, like I said, we don't know what happened to him after we beat him. Like, he
True.
ran off gleefully, and there's been some bounties in Jahai Bluffs that have kind of hinted at what might happen. So they could tie in some way, but who knows?
Though, I think they've kind of, like, as I was thinking of that, I was like, though they have tried to take a step away from like the whole Lazarus issue thing,
Yeah.
where they kind of keep it a separate story that,
Like if there's
kinda,
a story, it's not linked to any other story in the game.
or very vaguely, because I mean, of
Right.
course, I'm sure everything's connected somehow, and you know, it is
Right.
supposed to be a cohesive world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of the sooner stuff. They did talk about the future, so and I stress it.
The future.
Before we get
no
to it,
timeline.
before we get to it, I want to stress, they do say, please understand that these are all works in progress, so details can change between here and the final version, and they don't have a timeline for the release of any of these. So, this could be a year, could be 3 years, could be 5 years. Hopefully not 5 years, but, it could be. But yeah, the first thing they started talking about was legendary runes and sigils.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, are there better stats on them?
No, I can't imagine there's going to be better stats. I don't think there's going to be ascended quality runes and sigils. I think the dichotomy is like exotic runes and sigils are going to be the best, and they're still going to be the best, and legendary runes and sigils are going to be the exact same as exotics. It's just you right click and choose what they are.
But at that point, it's almost like a carrier. Like that would feel like something like more convenience, and could potentially just be in the gem store. Because it would be more of a convenience item.
I don't think they would ever do anything that is involved with player equipment and not like stat numbers and put it in the gem store.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think there would ever be any, because it's something like that. If you were to buy the rune or sigil swap mechanic and slap it onto something, you are effectively granting someone all of the runes and sigils in the game via the gem store, along with all of the potential swings in balance based on changes made to them made in the future. That is selling player power at that point.
Well, not if you have to just unlock each, like have the, like, I think we've said in the past, like you potentially would have to unlock like each rune, like have it in your inventory or something like so.
But
It's not giving them power.
Well, at the same time, at the same time, you're still sitting on. You are giving a player equipment ability via gem store, which is not something that exists.
Right.
The closest thing they have is the ability to extract those things, and that's not really granting.
That's not the same, yeah, because you already have the thing.
And chat, if that was the case, where if I just said it was in the game, we would have had Abaddon a long time ago, and we would all have been a lot happier. I'm just saying.
Also, I want to just say that I've been saying legendary runes and sigils since we first got armor, and a lot of people were like, "No, that doesn't make sense." So,
well, see, that's
I don't know how it works. That's the thing.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the question.
That's what I mean.
Well, that's I'm expecting it's just right-click change.
Yeah.
Same as any, and people are saying it's like I already have legendary armor. I already have like hot swappable runes and sigils. And it's just like. Yes, but you have to maintain that stack of sigils, or you have to maintain those items in your inventory.
Yep. Whereas you can just like ostensibly, if it works like every other legendary thing, you just click it and change it to what you want.
Also, if they give you this ability with the other thing we're talking about is build templates, it can hook into your build template system and you just...
Which is another thing I've been saying since we've been talking about templates for a long time is I always said that I feel like for a template to be really useful, it has to make use of your gear as well and switching the stats on it.
So what
otherwise,
you're saying,
it's a pain.
So what you're saying is if I make 6 legendary runes, I could stat swap them to whatever I want?
Yes. You would literally have a full 6 set of every exotic rune set in the game with 6 legendary runes. That's what we're saying this is probably going to be.
If it's not that, I don't know how they can call it legendary. Like,
if
I don't
you have
understand.
2 legendary sigils, you will have the legendary.
It just makes you shinier and brighter. That's what people want.
I don't.
Maybe a freaking disco ball.
More auras.
Yeah.
I'm just probably hold on.
I think
we just broke him.
Brain, yeah, we blew his head.
Yeah, Netco, but that's with an add-on. They're adding the system in game, like officially sanctioned within. Like I know Arc DPS has like the blessing of customers of the devs themselves, but like this is an official system within the game that will have support within the game.
Yeah, so you don't have to use a external mod, which a lot of people don't like using anyways.
I don't use.
And also the problem with that is, like and this was my one worry. Funny enough, and a lot of people bring that up. This was my one worry with Arc DPS was my worry. Like this is what happened with WoW. The developers would start building towards the add-ons and made them requirements. So I'm glad that they're adding this because that's them trying to fight against that.
I'd much rather have the devs say, that's a good idea, let's implement it our way, as opposed to just saying, hey, player base, you can just grab that.
Right.
Yeah. I don't use Arc DPS, and I would like build templates, but I don't want to use Arc DPS.
I mean, I remember when World of Warcraft was broken by simple geometry, and they actually had to ban a mod.
Right.
So I think wasn't there an overlay mod for Guild Wars 2 that they had to nix for raids or something?
Don't remember.
I mean, there was a couple things out there that got nixed from add-ons with the whole, but yeah,
there are a few things that were against TOS, so they just told the developers to take it out or disable it or whatever.
But I mean, to be fair, we kind of rolled it in with legendary runes and sigils, but I feel like we're downplaying it. I mean, we potentially build templates eventually. This has been what people have wanted for so long.
See, one of the things that's always confused me is how people were always hung up on the runes and sigils for build templates. And I'm just thinking about build templates as managing traits, skills on your bar, and the equipment that you wear. I never even thought about anything socketed into them because coming from World of Warcraft, I had a 1-button equipment swap for stuff I had. And it didn't matter what like gemstones were socketed into it. It just took that item ID and equipped it into the proper
But like
slot.
switching all of those out is really annoying and
Yeah,
time.
but I'm
It's
not
part of the build. Like your
Right.
build is all the things.
That depends entirely on how often you're going. Like, how often are you going to, unless you're super min maxing, how often are you going to have the same stat armor but with a different rune, and you want to swap to that build?
I mean, I don't change my build often, but when I do, it usually requires changing everything because I don't
then
do
you
small
just have
switch.
the other set of gear in your inventory, and it wouldn't matter about the.
But I'd rather not just have the other set of gear.
Well, that's why you want. I know raiders swap builds a lot, Bjorn. I realize that, but what I'm talking about is like you have soldier's gear with a traveler's rune in it. It's not an actual build. I'm just spitballing here. How often do you take that soldier's gear and swap to a completely different build with a different rune set?
Well, I mean, I would imagine with
legendary
raiders,
armor.
if they're going for
Well, that's
certain
the thing.
builds, it would.
That's edge case where you have people who are literally like making minor tweaks in order to do stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like that's
but
edge case stuff.
but
with
legendaries
legendary
are
runes.
edge case.
Let me finish. Let me finish. We're talking like original, like you kind of have to build a base system for the largest group possible.
Right. Like it should
And then
work
you
even if you don't
allow-
have legendaries.
And then you allow for edge cases. So I'm not saying that baseline, like legendary gear is the exception to build templates in Guild Wars 2.
Right. But they would want to make it work with that. Like
Yeah,
you
I was
don't
gonna
want
say.
to put in a system that can't work with that.
Right.
I know a
but,
lot of
like,
people are worried that like you'll need legendary armor and runes and sigils to use build templates. I really don't believe that. They haven't said either way.
the white gear.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it'll work that way. To utilize it to its full potential, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
And I think that's, I think that's where they're coming
That's
from. That they didn't
fine.
want to release something unfinished.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, it's gonna be like okay, change armor. Is person wearing legendary armor? Yes. Change stats. Change runes. If they're in your inventory. Is person not wearing legendary? Okay, let's check your inventory for said gear and rune, and then put that
Right.
on.
And like
That's
the other thing with build templates you have to remember is unless they've gone totally wonky, it's not going to be preset builds that they set up. It's going to be stuff you set up. You tell it what you want. Okay, this build is this set of stuff and talents and everything, and that's what it'll switch to.
What
So-
I'm gonna, yeah.
Huh?
I'm
What?
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was just saying. So it's like it'll be flexible to what you have and what you don't have.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, it would just be a terrible system.
I doubt that, Hypno. I'm fairly certain legendary runes and sigils are working anyway.
Yeah, I think it'll work in any weapon.
Yeah.
I do think you'd be able, like, I would very much think you'd be able to remove the, like, right click, remove rune or remove sigil because it would be really goddamn
Destroying.
dumb. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, that would be really
No,
dumb to not
no.
be able to extract a rune, or
Guys.
a legendary rune or sigil.
No, that's how they sell the extractors.
Oh God.
Get out. Those things need removed from the game. The only one that should exist is the unlimited one in fucking Black Lion chest.
But yeah, I think it's I'm very interested in like the fail safes. So let's say you make a build with like a specific ascended armor and a rune, but then you swap the rune later. I wonder how that's gonna handle. That's gonna be a lot of fun to see.
Well, I mean, I can't say how it says we will handle it in Guild Wars 2, but for something similar with like WoW, it checks like your bags and like what you have. So if you don't have it on you, you're not going to be able to
It
swap.
just doesn't equip it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
That's-
I think the question is, a piece of armor that has a different rune, is it a different ID code for their?
No, because I
So
would think,
it'll probably equip that item with that different rune, is what I think
Every
Age is
individual
wondering
Right,
about.
but the
item
thing
needs
is-
ID.
yeah, I was going to say the thing is for legendary, so assuming that the build template will switch your stats on your gear and your runes and sigils automatically, then you would have a thing to set the runes and sigils in the
Oh,
build
okay.
template.
That was in the
Individual.
case if we had full legendary runes as well. Sorry, I didn't. I was thinking
That and,
if we had for like people that don't have the legendary runes and sigils.
Right, but so you're setting the gear piece checked individually, and then I would assume if you have the legendary rune or sigil, you could set what you want it set to, or you just leave the rune or sigil undone, and it would just equip the piece.
You know, honestly, I'm thinking about this. Having legendary runes and sigils kind of makes needing legendary armor a little less. Because then your inventory space is for a different set of armor.
Right.
And then vice versa, is having legendary armor, you don't necessarily need legendary runes and sigils.
Assuming you can easily move them from one set of gear to another. Yeah.
I would assume it's just as easy as right-click, remove.
Right.
Or upgrade extractors.
Get out. Why are you
Well, no, that is a good question because that is a feature of legendary armor that you can extract the runes and sigils. Not of ascended gear. So you might need an extractor to remove
I cannot imagine they would put you in a situation where you can destroy a legendary by accidentally socketing something over it.
Right.
Any legendary quality, anything, I cannot comprehend.
Well, I'm sure if you try to put, hopefully they would have something in there. If you try to put something in there, being like, it would be like, hey, you got a legendary rune that can switch. Like, you want it, like.
I'm pretty sure you could put legendaries in the forge.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that would be the one risk.
But it's one of those things where I cannot comprehend a case where a legendary upgrade is permanent to any item.
Yeah.
I just, with the way the game is built and with the investment to legendary anything, I cannot comprehend that.
But that feels like it would be a huge oversight.
Yeah, it just feels like it would be a massive gotcha moment of like, oh, yep, you done goofed, pay us. Like it feels dumb and bad just to even think about it.
I'm just saying, like, they might eventually say that like they'll put that feature in for the runes and sigils. I'm just saying right now, that is the incentive.
Right.
Yeah, that is the incentive to get the armor, but we don't know anything, and that's the important thing to note. This is all speculation. We don't know how the build templates are going to work, or the runes or sigils. It's
gonna be fun.
Up in the air. Yeah.
It's gonna be mayhem.
Speaking of mayhem, they're also looking at possibly increasing cooking from 400 to 500.
Woo! Actually, literally, I was just thinking the other day before this thing came out, I have not touched cooking in a long time, and I wish there were new cool things to do with it.
I just want to say, Bloodstone Dust has no culinary applications.
Until now.
I thought we did get something we can make out of it.
You have to talk to an NPC for it. It's an item in season 3.
No. Okay. I thought it was actually a recipe we got for some.
Well, there is you kind of miss part of that is they want to restructure cooking. So I think we're actually going to see not only 401 to 500 cooking, but also a complete overhaul of cooking.
Which probably would be really worthwhile to do. Because
cooking has a lot of prerequisite items that just are items that build into other items, and it's not clean or neat, or it's bad. Like, cooking is not a well-designed crafting mechanic. No. Also, they need to stop making new food they add bind to account.
Yeah.
Like, that needs to stop. Because that completely removes cooking. Like, honestly, if they restructure this, they need to remove that, because that means that cooks literally cook for themselves and that's it. They can't input to the economy.
Right.
Which I think is bad. So
I just imagine like a baker sitting in his shop in real life going, I can't give these to anyone.
I made this gorgeous cake, but nobody else can have it.
Exactly.
No, he's just sitting in a room full of like pies. He's like, I can't give these to, I gotta eat them all. Like, I just.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
On the bright side, in the world of Guild Wars 2, those pies will never go bad.
True.
So there's that.
You'll never go hungry.
I'm sorry you're starving. I can't give you any food.
It can't leave my hand.
You could have this level 20 food instead.
Well, see, that's the thing, Netco. Equipment is account bound. Cooking stuff is items and consumables. Consumables play by different rules. Like, I can make a lot of like sharpening stones. I can make those and give them. I can sell those on the trading post. I can't do that with the food that I've got.
Right.
That's the problem here.
Technically, sharpening stones. Yeah, I think some of those are.
Some of the newer ones are account bound. Yes, like I honestly think them making consumables account bound is kind of the worst thing because it removes those crafting. Like you're telling people play the game by yourself.
Right.
Like you can't be that person. It's not like the cook for World of Warcraft raids where like the cook made the feast that you put out so people could, get the food buff before the raid boss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I thought they were going for with cooking, especially since they have feast items that are placeable in the world.
Those are nice, yeah.
Exactly.
That'd be really cool if you got one person in your guild that's dedicated to like making raid food.
And like that could be the person to make the raid food.
Is that the punishment or
and then
those DPS makes the food for next week?
People.
Well, you'd have multiple people because then you'd have the crafting, the sharpening stones, the oils, the resonating crystals, or whatever the one is for artificer. So
yeah.
But then he also mentioned further down the road, jewel crafting overhaul. Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised they're doing cooking before jewel crafting. But...
Yeah, me too.
Because they got to add the fishing, right? The fishing. Fishing's coming.
No.
That is not in here, by the way. Don't think that.
Fishing's not in here.
Jewel crafting is probably further down the road because of all the ascended trinkets that we can get. So like they have to
probably
figure out how they're
makes
do
it
that.
more complex.
They don't want to impact current reward structures. So
yeah. Ascended food.
But some of the other future stuff, small World v. World event updates, like how they have the no downstate weeks, and also event reward structure updates. So that's nice.
I like the special like event weeks idea at World versus World. Like even if it's something that's just off the wall that makes it ridiculous for a week, it's for a week. Like, have fun with it.
A basically free Alpha Siege Golems week.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a good way to keep things fun and interesting while we're waiting on the major updates for World versus World.
I wouldn't mind seeing them put like random events on the maps, kind of like overworld maps where a thing happens.
Kralkatorrik attacks the map.
I mean, maybe not necessarily that big, but something to kind of.
I mean,
throw off
going back to maybe Kralkatorrik in that teaser trailer, like he's messing with the mists and things are breaking up and the mists are becoming more flimsy and
World
stuff.
World versus World is an internal war.
They did have.
Yeah, maybe this is the World v. World update.
What are you saying they added, Age?
Oh my God, we were right weeks ago that Kralkatorrik was going to eat the World versus World maps, and that's how we're going to get the update. We totally called it.
Arlie, if that's what they're doing and you made them do it, like,
Age, are you going to be okay?
They did add event. Remember when Desert first came out? They had this Oasis event, like every hour. People could fight in the middle for control or something.
Right.
Like
they removed that, so I don't know.
Well, wasn't that like the Skyhammer laser kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. I don't think World vs. World players in general like those types of things. So take that as you will.
I know I've been at odds with the WVW community with some of the things that I would like to see in WVW, but that's more for me in a conceptual level than me playing it.
Zero gravity week.
Actually, a low gravity week would be fantastic. I would love to see that.
It'd be fun.
People jump into forts and stuff.
Right. I mean, like I said, what I like about it is since it only lasts a week, they can get ridiculous with it because it's only for a week, whatever.
Your jump couldn't get you into a fort as long as they could keep the low gravity, like keeping you from just bounding over the wall.
Your jump can go into a fort, but this is where defense comes in. You hit them once and they just go
You hit
into the sky and just die.
You just have rangers on the walls with knockbacks. It's just like,
well, you jump and you can't control where you go after you jump because you're flying through the air.
You misjudge the wall and you hit the top of it and you start bouncing on. Like, no.
Break down into the map.
Yeah, it would be amazing. I think it would be so much fun.
You yelling to your own teammates, CC me, please.
I don't know. I think the main thing would be the change up how things happen in World versus World and make it different for a little bit.
Bobblehead
Well,
week.
and honestly, that's the problem is I think World War players like doing PvP and you're saying no other events. I hate to tell you, World v World was kind of like the bridging of the gap there. Like there should be events in there. I'm not saying like, you know, actual like heart events that we've had in like maps, but to have no events whatsoever, I also think is also a disservice to World v World. And yes, I know how World v World players like doing things because yeah, they whine and moan until they get back to their merry-go-round, which I don't care about.
Well, I don't know.
And now now we have.
I think there's an event style that they can add that World vs. World players can like, as long as they're fighting.
Right.
It could be something as simple as assault X number of forts in this map to get reinforcements.
Right.
Or something like that.
Or like it could be like everybody converge on this thing and whatever team does the most damage to this thing gets the bonus points for their map. Like
or
that needs to be done in peak hours though.
Right.
Well, another thing is have like a rotating map event. It's like, okay, capture these 3 points and hold them for this amount of time. So you have to capture X number of territories and maintain control over them.
Again, peak hours, because that's kind of the problem, right?
Right.
Right.
And
there's a lot.
I'm not suggesting they get rid of that aspect, but there has to be more to it because every time it varies from that, people go, no, that can't be in there.
Right.
It ruins our game mode and we have to go back to like that can't be the only thing in there is what I'm trying to insinuate.
Mm.
I think the only problem is just events like the Oasis one kind of led to peak off hours advantages,
right?
Which people don't like.
Right. There is a kind of there's a different kind of balance of power that has to be paid attention to in WW because of the hours that people have to deal with stuff, which one of the things is in the further down the road section about changing WW matches to 8-hour intervals.
Yeah.
Which could help alleviate some off hour time.
What Jasher's saying is people like World versus World as it is, and why mess with that? I'm sure there are some players who love it the way it is, but most of the World versus World people I know are unhappy with the current state of World versus World for many reasons. It's one of the reasons why they're working on a big overhaul on it.
I like it because I'm bored.
Yeah.
Something. It's not necessarily just events. I just need like a little flavor to make it like
change it up a bit.
Just a little flavor to make it.
To be fair, Jasher, you're also offering.
So is yours as well as anecdotal evidence. I mean,
and also some people like it, so why change it? It depends on if the devs are happy with it, because at the end of the day, it's their creation and they have to be satisfied with how it runs.
Right.
Which I realize that yes, in gaming it's a little different, especially with, and I hate saying this phrase, live service type games. Because that's really what WW is. Yes, there's a little bit of push and pull with the community and the devs about what a game type should be, but at the same time, something cannot allowed to become stale because eventually people will start dropping it, and you'll just see a slow.
You have to like. There's always a certain amount of people who leave any game mode at a certain rate. It's a natural life cycle of every game, and you need people to come in and replace those. And one of the ways you do that is offering new, interesting, different things.
And that's where Age's point is: add a bit of spice to it. Is there needs to be something that adds an element of randomness. I'm not saying like totally off the wall bonkers stuff, but your experience must be varied enough from play session to play session to make you want to come back and say, I wonder what will happen today.
Right.
It's for me, it's more like I need something that'll change the game up a bit, but keep the basics of World vs. World and what it's
Right.
supposed to be. I've even said, hey, like even during the holidays, add some like Winter's Day flair to World vs. World, or something like that, just like something a little different. I'm not even asking for a game design change at that point. It's just like it's a little flair.
I'm sure some of the things that they try will be awesome and everybody will love it, and some of the things will be like, oh wow, this is terrible.
Never do this again. Like,
well, whatever. Like again, it lasts a week. So
are we talking about weekly things or like perma things?
I was talking about the weekly things they were talking about doing.
Weekly things
and
that
it's
could
not even every week.
Like
the things that they were doing for a week, like the no downstate and stuff.
Okay,
so small. That's the example that's given is the no downstate week event for WW, stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't mind weekly events week off weeks like that. I don't mind as long as it just doesn't break the entire game mode. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I would assume that if they did an event that once they got it in there, they're like, oh, wow. Well, but they said, I think he said in his post week event.
Yeah, a week, man. That's fine.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm sure if they do an event and once they got it in, they're like, oh wow, this is breaking it. They would like make adjustments, or if there was no way to fix the event and still have it run, just pull it back out.
Like, okay. Yeah, week, whatever.
I think they would probably gravitate towards week since that is sectioned off as a whole match.
Yeah, no,
I think that's why they're leaning towards a whole week rather than a weekend. To
back up Arlie's point is Mike Z does literally say no downstate week we've done in the past in the blog post. So that's kind of the basis we're going off of here. Which may or may not have happened, like you're saying, it was just a weekend, but
But that also might be an indication that in the future they're looking at doing that stuff for an entire week.
Right.
Or maybe he was like, that no downstate was so weak. You can imagine him saying that, right? Mike Z's like,
yeah, that's exactly how he talks with the manners and everything.
He's actually I don't want to say muted because that sounds like
he's kind of reserved.
Reserved.
Yeah, no.
Like Mike Z is a very reserved gentleman. I enjoyed talking to him. He was a cool dude. But then finally in future PvP Swiss tournaments.
Yay.
Yep.
That's exciting.
As long as it's not more automated tournaments.
Well, wait, just for like people, what is a Swiss tournament?
I don't know.
It's like cheese.
Yay, it has holes.
So I was gonna say, you're telling me so there's a PvP tournament full of holes.
That is very cheesy.
So they're bringing back the defense meta, it sounds like, where you can just cheese the match. All right.
See, that's the thing, QED. I don't think any of us know what Swiss tournament rules are. Single elimination tournament brackets. Okay.
I like ours better.
It's full of holes and very cheesy.
Yes. And there might be chocolate. Ooh. What's chocolate? It's a thing.
Chocolate cheese?
Well, not on the don't.
Okay,
that's your weird 400, 500 cooking.
It's already 550.
All right. Yeah. Further down the road, these are important. None of these have been fully designed and are even more subject to change or being shelved. So
I go from the table to the shelf.
Yeah, these are the things I was saying that I assume would not be this year at all. It would be future.
But they were talking about changing World v. World matches so that scoring matters in 8-hour intervals. This allows us to address gameplay in off-peak hours in a way that doesn't invalidate the work of the most active populations.
Right. That's something I would assume would have to come after alliances, because I think the balance for all of that will change once alliances are in, and they have to see how that plays out.
Agreed.
And also, you're hopeful about jewel crafting 400 to 500, but that is one of the ones that's on the chopping block, possibly.
Yeah.
Well, with all the Ascended trinkets that they've given us, it's kind of something that's not as necessary.
Right.
Because we also have access to a lot of Ascended accessories that we can stat swap outside of legendary ones. So it's kind of wonky as to where jewel crafting will exist as a level 500 crafting discipline.
In the end, whatever Guardian or Warrior, as long as it's Norn. But they also said which I'm kind of intrigued by, the competitive team has been working on the idea of building a festival that highlights both SPVP and Warrior World. They are saying it's a fun concept that would allow them to focus on those game types and try new things. So it almost sounds like maybe what could develop from this whole like no downstate week or something like that, like something that maybe really changes things up.
Yep. Be interesting.
But any final thoughts on all, like, you know, this blog post that kind of gave us a rough roadmap?
Let's do more of these.
More communication, yes, please.
And I think what the important thing is,
but
and what I think is important here is, you know, I know probably some people are holding this up as the new MMO manifesto gospel thing they're gonna, but please, they've tried to stress here multiple times. These are things that are kind of in flux, maybe get shelved. Don't hold this as a gospel type thing, like, but you said type thing. That is what will start diminishing their communication with us, and that's not good.
I mean, like, my thing is it's all right to be disappointed. Like, when things get cut or changed that you were really looking forward to, it's okay to be disappointed and express that disappointment. But remember, you're talking to real people who actually care about the thing that they're working on, and don't be like an ass about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't get build templates. I'm telling you right now, I don't know.
I know.
Well, that's the thing, is that's not on the chopping block.
Yeah, that seems like it's an eventual thing, unless you know something, because that was kind of the idea with
something happens, you know,
legendary crafting, you know, precursor crafting, and that had to get a whole new rework. So, but it is something that they want to do, definitely. Just who knows when.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I believe he did say in the blog post that the next episode will be a little bit outside of their normal time frame too, which I think all of us pretty much has said we were assuming was going to be the case with like the layoffs and all of that, like would have affected it.
Yeah.
So I was happy that he kind of confirmed that, just because everybody was wondering, and you know.
And you know, maybe all this stuff is making you intrigued. Maybe you're returning. Maybe you heard your friends talk about this, or maybe you're hearing it here and you want to come back to the game. Well, they're doing their welcome back to Guild Wars 2, and we're in the second week, where they're basically encouraging players to return. But this week, just like last week, you were able to get episode 1 for free, and a lot of content creators and stuff were playing again, and devs were playing it. This week, it's Living World Season 4, Episode 2, A Bug in the System. You can pick that up in the gem store. And also, if you already have it, you know, like, well, what is in it for me? You can also, anyone can grab anyone, I think, if you don't have a free account. Like, as long as it's I don't know if there's any limitation on it. I'm not 100% sure.
I think you have access to the gem store if you have a free account.
Yeah.
Okay.
In order to buy the upgrade, so.
Well, they do say all players can grab a free metabolic primer this week in the gem store, limit 1 per account, so you can pick that up. And I think don't those make your buffs like 2 hours
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Or 12 hours, I forget which.
I think it's 24. Sounds right to me. And it's in-game time too, so like
yes.
when you log out, it's not.
Though if you are watching this, do pick it up quick, because both of those are only available till April 8th. So, but I mean, do you guys like this initiative that they're kind of slowly going through all the story stuff and?
I get free stuff, so yeah.
He's just like, I don't care. Give me free stuff.
Oh, Bug in the System was really good. Just to, every time I think of that episode,
the
just
trailer.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see McLean at PAX East, and I was so sad about that.
Aww.
And he did a panel too, but I had something.
Yeah,
I'll catch him next time. Because I actually wanted to ask him about for certain thing. Anyway, yeah, good episode. Go get it if you don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, might as well. It's, I mean, free stuff. Go grab it if you can. But yeah, because you can always save it if you don't have it, you know, POF or something. You can grab it, have it sitting there waiting for you. Even with the new Living Story stuff, just log in. That's usually how it works. Great stuff. So.
Oh my god. Sorry.
No. They're also talking about future change to raid reward delivery. So they said with the next raid release, raid rewards will move out of the boss statue world chest and into a bounty chest that will be delivered when a boss encounter is successfully completed. This is to ensure that people who disconnect or otherwise leave an instance without interacting with said chest will still receive their rewards. The chests themselves will still appear, and there will still be some loot on them in the form of unidentified gear. Yay, more unidentified gear. But all the rewards you'd normally expect to see in that chest have been relocated to the bounty chest.
That's really good.
All I hear is that there's just a little more loot for raiders, and if you disconnect, you get a little bit less of stuff that really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
that's a chest.
Well, that and bouncy chests are flagged to your account. So even if you log out and log back in, like you just do the entire night of raiding and log out, you log in the next day, and all of those chests will still be lined up for you to open.
Yeah, that's a good chain. That's a nice correlation.
Also, we have PvP League Season 16 begins next week. So, I
said,
think we have I think we have the times wrong here.
Oh.
Or maybe they do. Because I was about to read it starts April. Oh, they have the times wrong. It says it begins on April 2nd, which...
Already began?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Tuesday. Yeah. Well, that blog post was March 29th.
Oh, did we miss that? Or wait, what?
We might have skipped it last week.
Yeah.
Because I think we skipped a few things last week.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. I'm surprised we missed that. All right.
Oh, well, it started. Yay.
Yeah. How is it?
I don't know.
I don't know yet.
I need to get back into PvP to see the balances after the big.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I was actually
for a while.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that a little bit ago. I needed to get back in there too.
I don't PvP, so.
I was passed out.
Oh, right. Yes, you were on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. More intrigued by the handling of bad people, I guess. We'll see.
Email confirmation message on the launcher. I don't know. It might have something to do with the
Yeah, I got that on one of my accounts. I think it went away after like I logged in the third time. But I think if you it might be possible that if you change your email settings for the glowing purple mask thing that it might happen to you.
Oh, okay.
I haven't gotten any kind of email confirmation like that since I did that though.
It happened because I have two main.
I did. Yeah.
I have two main accounts, so it didn't happen on my main one, but it happened on my other one.
Yeah, I got one. I was like, yay.
Yeah. I'll chalk it up to like maybe like yeah, maybe a flag that was reset or something. But
Yeah, I doubt it's anything serious.
yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
All right. Also, it looks like, or of course, with April 1st, they put out an April Fool's patch notes, which don't, if you see them, don't take them seriously, but there are some pretty good ones in there. Like, I mean, did you guys have any favorites? I kind of like the thief one, but I don't want to steal the thief's thunder.
It was good.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. I saw that a couple days ago when you messaged me about it, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool and ironic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because for people that don't follow Age on Twitter, which I mean, why aren't you? It seems like he has found a new love in D&D when he went to PAX. And coincidentally, the patch notes for the thief, their thief initiative, will now reset when the thief enters combat, with the starting amount randomly determined from a 1 to 20, which for people who don't know, the reference is to rolling initiative in D&D. So
yeah,
thought it was pretty funny in that aspect. But, and like I said, I do want to stress, these aren't real. Like, don't think that's a horrible thing. It's just,
I love how they kind of meme themselves with the fractal bird thing.
yes.
That's pretty funny. So
Yeah, basically every profession got like a bird themed.
Are you ready for your last birds, Age?
My last birds. Yeah,
that's your fractal instability. I mean, mine as an elementalist is we bleed birds. So,
what does that even mean?
I would assume when you smack an enemy, a bird comes out of them and attacks.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
It would be amazing.
That's because it's we bleed fire, but instead of fire, it's birds.
Mm-hmm.
So last bird, I would assume, is when you kill an enemy, they explode into birds.
Oh man.
Though I mean, to be fair, we were talking about it earlier about having them like a way to reset dailies. They jokingly figured out a way to do it. Apparently, in the joking April Fool's Day patch notes, Alacrity will speed up the wait time for the daily reset. I mean, that's just
Mesmer changed signal of inspiration by 33%. That's hilarious.
Hey, and they also get bird convergence.
But yeah, so definitely if you want a good laugh, definitely check out that forum post of the fake patch notes.
I have one for Tavik. Axe skill on Necromancer's damage increased by 5.999% repeating. That's hilarious. Reduce the number of scourge saves. Yeah. Reduce the number of scourge shades scourged when a scourge shades scourged.
Wow. Something 5 times fast.
Reduce the number of scourge shades scourged when a scourge shades scourged shades. Wow.
But did they have an in-game thing this year? I mean, besides Sab, of course, but
it's Super Adventure Box now, pretty much.
Okay, from now on.
event.
Okay, I didn't know if they did like a little thing anymore or not. But no, I liked that they had the little jokey patch notes. So, also kind of cool. ArenaNet is nominated for a Webby Award. They were nominated for their website for employment. You can vote between now and April 18th, which will throw out the tweet if you want to go check that out and, vote for the other things. But I was thinking that because with the whole aviator thing and all that stuff, at least this way it doesn't,
the aviator thing was fine as long as you could turn it off.
Right.
You couldn't turn it off.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun for a bit, but then I don't want to spend an hour in this.
Yeah, I always didn't play with the aviator stuff because it annoyed me.
Also, those who put it on NPCs that I'm trying to touch, I wish nothing but. No, I shouldn't say that on the chat. Yeah, I won't say it here. Karma will get you essentially.
Oh, people were mad about the crash the day before. Oh.
The hell does that have anything to do with it? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's just people being dumb. That's, again, I look at when League of Legends tried to do something fun with, killing Gangplank for a day and he just wasn't available. And you click the little, why is this character not available? He's dead. Came back, but like people raged, so now they can't do anything interesting story-wise in the game. So people getting mad ruined stuff. Yay.
Yeah.
Vote for ArenaNet for a Webby.
Yeah. And this is one of those times. This is one of those times where you don't have to vote with your wallet. But if you want to vote with your wallet, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Check out the gem store, and always thank you to Delphi.net. Check out Delphi.net so you can spend your gems more wisely. First up, we have the Legion Jetpack Backpack Glider combo for 700 gems. It gives you a backpack skin and also a glider skin that functions basically looking the same. What?
There, go on. No, I was saying, Matthias tells me to leave because of the extractors, but then you make that pun.
At this point.
But yes, and as usual, you can't dye the backpack, but the glider, as you'll see here, you will be able to dye. It's exhaust flames and kind of the top part of it.
I actively feel a need to purchase this for my char.
Yeah, also it has a nice little feature, and Dolphy does show it off a little bit later. The boosters will go off on the backpack when gliding, but also when jumping, which is a kind of cool thing. So
Yeah.
That's neat.
Nice little touch.
Oh, hey, and you can actively use one of the dye channels without having to change the color from the base back piece. That's nice.
Yep. So you don't have to have the disorientation of your back piece to the glider.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can pick that for 700 gems, or is that something you guys are going to pick up? I see chat's already saying that day one.
I'm really tempted.
I'm not. It just doesn't fit with any of my characters.
Do you have a char?
I do, but I don't play her. My char is Arlie the Purdy, and like jetpacks aren't pretty.
You can make it pink. It can shoot pink flames. Or any other color that you think is purdy.
It's like I look at this and like this is perfect for my breaker warband char. Like I'm probably gonna grab it. So.
Yeah, I have an engineer char, so that would work with mine.
I do too. But I had the scrap glider thing for so long. I don't know if I could.
I don't know if I would use it for the. I don't know if I use it for the glider or the back piece alone too. Probably both, but yeah.
You ever notice Dolphy always uses the same section to glide on for her videos?
Consistency, lighting.
I was just thinking about that randomly.
You can also pick up the Super Adventure Box chair for 700 gems. You can see it here, displayed on all the characters. And boy howdy, it's a chair.
It's amazing.
It's there.
It's your personal space.
I was saying, I like that it looks self-contained, like you're in like a glass case type thing, like
help, I'm trapped.
It's a commander terrarium.
Basically.
I love it. I was like, all of you stay out of my space.
I just want to see someone saying that, and then someone with a Springer just cannonball into the middle of it. Like, that's what I gotta say about your space.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a nice.
It is nice looking. It's just not my cup of tea. But I know so many people that were like, instantly yes. Oh, and Chad is saying apparently the chair does work underwater.
Yay! That's amazing.
Oy vey. But
we're just gonna go out to random piece of water and use it and just wait for players to run by me.
It's a good thing we don't have like time to hold your breath or anything. That would be.
Yep, even
But
if
the
you
biome
take
would
your
save
aqua
you.
breather off, it doesn't matter. You can't
Yeah.
kill yourself that way.
No, the biome would save you. You have a tree there for oxygen.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's why it's contained.
Perfect. Oh man.
But yeah, so you can pick that up for 700 gems. Also some in-stock stuff. The Mini Super Trio Series 3 for 600 gems. The Mini Super Trio Series 4 for 600 gems. The Super Adventure Glider for 280 gems, which is 30% off. And
It's
the
awesome.
Permanent Super Explosive Finisher for 480 gems, 20% off. So if you
Best
pick up all this stuff, you can be hitting, you can be Sab all year round.
Yep.
It's the best.
And I
finisher.
just say, please stay away from me.
Yeah. Gotta get that finisher. It's the best one in the game.
Yeah, you do like
Really?
the Sab Explosive Finisher. Yeah, it just creates a 8-bit like mushroom
It's a
cloud
bit
type thing.
explosion. Yeah, it's a bit mushroom cloud.
So
The
good.
Sab glider is amazing too. Did you get the
Mhm.
music as well? It's
Where
awesome.
are my minis? Not my minis. Where's my mounts?
I was
was
about
gonna
to say,
say,
wait, is this age
you said-
asking for minis? What?
I was about to be like, I
Sorry.
know we were just saying like the time was wrong for the PvP thing. Is it still April Fool's Day? What's going on?
What
like-
happened?
I was like, what the? Anyway, okay.
Oh, sorry. Where
Yeah,
are my
I know
mounts?
a lot of people are hoping for the mounts and
Yeah, I'm disappointed about that.
yeah.
Guess we still have like a week. When does Sab end?
Next week, I think the 12th. I thought it was
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yesterday was the end of last Tuesday was the end of week 2, I believe.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
next.
Chat's saying the
Oh,
18th.
So the last week was the end of week 1. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say we only covered it. Yeah, so we still got some time.
Okay. Good.
So
I have to do the World 2 in Tribulation mode.
Oh my gosh.
I want my boom box. So bad.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking it was the 12th, but whatever. 18th, more time. Yay.
But last up, we got Community Corner. First in Community Corner, we have the Snow Crows Monthly Competition version 2. They have randomized it, and so they are looking at the composition for subgroup 1. One will be Dragon Hunter, Thief, Herald, Mesmer, and Berserker. Subgroup 2 will be Thief, Revenant, Renegade, Chronomancer, and Berserker. They actually came out with a kind of new rule that says no hardcore guilds. So, i.e., raid tournaments, record run times. You can have 3 hardcore players per squad, but this is an idea to encourage non-hardcore guilds and players. So I'm kind of curious because, like, last week we talked about it. QT1, which is well known for being a hardcore raiding guild.
2-minute timer, I think.
Right.
Like 2 minutes and 20 some seconds. That was ridiculous.
But yeah, do you like that they're going this route? I mean, do you think that's the
whole point of these compositions, I assume, is just to get people interested in raids.
Yeah.
So having like different builds allows people to see like, hey, you can run whatever you want as long as like it's within reason. So
Right. It makes it more competitive too.
I agree that like I like the ones where they want other people to like have a shot to win, because if you're going up against QT, I mean, you're probably not going to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be all of the like bleeding edge raid teams that are going to win at that point. And it kind of makes sense because they're all used to min-maxing and strategizing and working with each other, so that's fine. I don't want this to be every single match. Like, I would actually be okay if they alternated.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see a problem with it so long as it's not like.
Or what if they just made like a hardcore raiding guild gets an honorable mention, like this is what QT would have done, but they're not eligible for the I think last time it was gems and stuff. So there's still that competition, but it's like, oh, this is what the people that want it, because I mean QT could theoretically go and do this, make a video showing them doing it. It's just it won't be for the competition.
It'd be kind of cool if they had like a hardcore and a non-hardcore, I guess.
Yeah. If they had 2 brackets, I guess, but
that depends how much rewards they have, I guess. So.
But Yeah, so I think that's definitely a cool thing. Chat saying that the plan is to alternate it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Apparently. So, all right.
There you go. Bam.
There's so many random elements going on in that. Next, they'll be in RNG boxes. Nothing. All right.
I don't know how that works. It's already RNG in terms of composition. So,
But any thoughts on the Snow Crow's monthly competition?
have fun. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to get more in people's faces, you got the Yu-Gi-Oh! PvP Core Builds tournament that is actually happening tomorrow if you're watching this live. If you're watching this on YouTube when it comes out on Sundays, it will be happening probably right around, well, depends on how long we're going, but it's probably happening if you watch this as soon as it dropped. But it is going to be, I believe, it should still be through Jebro Unity's Twitch. And they're partnered with ArenaNet and Maturino. But the start time will be 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 6 p.m. GMT. EU Core Tournament will be the following month, but there is no class stacking allowed. Revenant cannot use Herald or Renegade specializations, hence the core build idea. And Rangers can only use core pets, so yeah.
Very much literally only what is baseline allowed for your profession.
Mm-hmm.
No smoke scale for you.
It almost feels like you don't like the smoke scale.
I just don't like Rangers.
Hey, H.
Why not?
Rapid fire.
Uh-huh.
Rangers are awesome.
My best friend plays a Ranger main.
Mm.
I tell him it's not straight up.
Dang, heartless.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely go check it out. We'll definitely try to host them next or tomorrow during that time. So maybe if you're watching this on YouTube and you're hitting it, if you don't know where to go to, just go to our Twitch page and we should be hosting them ideally.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make sure. Yeah, okay, it is still on Jebber Unity's Twitch, so we'll definitely try to host them out for that. But any other thoughts on the PvP Core Builds tournament or anything that we've talked about?
Lots of stuff this week. Lots of large scale stuff. So
cannot wait to see what happens. More news. Like we said, you have to be good to them as well, so they keep the information going. But that looks like that is it for this week. Jim, where can they find you?
I'm going to be found on Twitter at MalfanusMMO. You can also find me live here on twitch.tv/MAADrealms. That's 2 A's in the MAAD. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Vote to Kick, where we talk about things in the gaming industry and whether to keep or kick them. Me and Deo this past Wednesday talked about game launchers, which might be a thing that people are interested in because Epic is kind of steamrolling over a lot of people. Yeah, steamrolling over Steam. Yeah, it's just kind of a thing that's happening right now. So check that video out. It's a little long. Kind of number 2 in the line where me and the guest don't agree by the end of it on a middle ground. So
I mean, you know, if you don't have time to watch it, because it was around an hour, just go in and vote blue. That's all you need to do.
Don't watch the video. Tell us why you voted keep or kick. It's very important. And
if you voted kick, let us know how you were wrong, and then vote keep, and then you can tell us how you were right. Just saying. But yeah, definitely check that out. And Age, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Yesterday I did a run for World 1 Zone 3 Tribulation Mode, which took me a long time to do because I'm a scrub. But I did it. I got my World 1 boombox. I might try to do World 2 boombox next week. I'm trying to stream regularly again, so stay tuned for that.
Wait, doing Tribulation Mode is how you get the boomboxes?
The
Yeah.
the metal boom boxes.
Damn it.
The
I was
metal
just thinking
versions.
about I need to figure out how to do those. Never mind.
You can always just do tribulation mode. It's that easy. And you can find Robin doing tribulation mode. Where, Robin?
Never. I don't think I ever got through the first level, the first one. Like, it was bad. Anyways, you can find me at Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Arlie82. Yay.
Awesome. And you can find me at simply_Dale on Twitch and Twitter. And yeah, I've been trying to do some stuff for the Mad Realms behind the scenes stuff. So hopefully I'll get back into streaming some more stuff. Maybe Warframe. There's a lot of Warframe goodies too. Love to talk about it, but I can't talk about it here because it's just Guild Wars 2. But we could talk about it during after show if you're here live. And other gaming related stuff. So you should try to show up live. And we go live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you are just popping the very end, like I said, stick around. We're doing we do a bit of after show and stuff like that. If you want to watch this in full, we do highlight it on Twitch, just twitch.tv/MAAD, 2 A's in the MAAD. If you prefer it on YouTube, it goes up on YouTube Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, just youtube.com/MAAD. If you want it all in one nice little package, just go to our website, MAAD, 2 A's in the MAAD, MAADrealms.com. And that goes up right around the same time as it goes up on YouTube. But it also has the audio version of this podcast, if that is your preferred method. And I think that is it for this week. And we'll see everybody next week with hopefully some more Guild Wars 2 news. And we'll see you in the game. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.